That's okay.
All right, we are rolling. Hi, y'all. Welcome to the first school board meeting of the 2019-20 school year. Did I get that
That threw me. That I was not prepared.
I know,
for that,
this
to look
is-
in the 2020 folder.
It's exciting. Let's do it. Start with the roll call.
Ryan?
I'm here.
Tyler? He's absent. Kim?
Yep.
John?
Here.
And Deb?
Here.
All right. Any comments on the agenda, or can we approve it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that everybody?
Hi.
Okay, good. Is everybody cool? Excellent. Great. Public forum. I'm assuming that all of you have a slot on the agenda already.
I'm at public forum. I just got to get an agenda.
Perfect. All right. Well, that was quick. Okay. Awesome. To the district priorities and annual goals.
One of the things that we're going to do is that we are going to, as an administrative team, actually we're leaving this coming Sunday. We're going to be out in Columbus, Ohio, and one of the things that we're going to do while we're out there is work on these. And we're going to try to get it so that, I think that I heard from board members, and maybe separately, that they would like to see us be able to give you something that when we used to, accomplish this, we turned it red so that we could talk about that. That's what we plan to do with this. But I know that you guys have put in a lot of hard work into this, and we want to make sure that we're, every board meeting, we're talking about what it is that we're doing. And again, I think that we've talked to you about also the fact that we are starting out the year, we're working with, Andrew's head of the foundation. We're going to be doing some things with an overall blast that's going to be coming out, that's going to be talking about the Gilbert School District and the partnerships that we have, and the foundation is a part of that. So you'll see that more of this to come.
Awesome. I like that format, by the way. Thank you. All right, boys, we'll go quick. Administrative reports. So, back to you.
The only thing is, you don't have to tell them that, July, they say, well, do we have to be there?
Did it pop up?
I need to know if someone on the board would like to give the welcome for the back to school. It would be, I think I put in your email today, it was 8. It'll be around 8:15.
I'd be happy to if.
I have a strategy planning meeting at work, so it's hard for me to miss that one.
Okay.
If someone else is available.
Yep, and it's
your
like,
last.
it's my last thing.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's right.
I'd love to
Is this
say
like your senior
hello,
year?
goodbye. It's my senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Congratulations.
this will, yeah, so I'd be happy
Perfect.
to unless you.
If you,
Okay.
He's got an arm wrestling for him. So.
Yeah, I'll be like 3 days back from Cancun, so.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
We'll put you down. It'll be around 8 to 8:15. We'll be in the auditorium.
Yep.
There's let's see, I'm thinking of that day or not. I can tell you quickly if there's a breakfast or anything like that that's going on. Just a second here. Yeah, there is a breakfast, and it happens to be sponsored by.
I think there's a breakfast.
by Nap Tedesco.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you haven't had a chance to be at that's a pretty popular time. They do a great job. It's Nap Tedesco and First American Bank, and we're very happy to have you guys do that. We're really honored that you do that, and they do a great job of sponsoring the breakfast. So Kim, you don't want to miss that one.
Okay, I'm there.
thank you for doing
Thanks,
that.
Kim. I think that's it.
There's
Yeah.
the custodial and food service that's in the book.
Oh, that's in the
box.
report.
Did anybody want to talk about any of those things?
No, but it's good to see what Deb's accomplishing this summer. I enjoyed, both of their reports are informative, but it's nice to see that she's steaming forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. And now, sorry, I didn't want to. Did you?
No, sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Announcements and celebrations. Again, it was a pretty sparse meeting.
I
You know, that's totally
Good summer
fine.
sports.
Yeah.
Yes. The girls softball team has had a very good season. Baseball team is senior night tonight and
Yes.
tournament game on Friday. What's the record? Can you guys tell me?
23 and 5.
Wow.
Nice. Both teams have done
And
well.
5 of the losses, or 3 of the 5 losses have all come in the last week and a half.
Wow.
So,
Well, and we're playing some bigger schools. Like,
Well, yeah,
did
they
you know that
you
today?
can be in some
4A?
of those.
The first 2 games are here, is that right?
For
Yes,
tournament?
yeah,
So
first
that'd be
2
Friday
rounds.
and Monday will be
Yep.
at our,
At Gilbert.
Yep, here,
On our
and then if we win and Ballard wins all the way through, it would be at Ballard's field.
okay.
And
So-
what happened with the girls? Did they?
The girls lost, but they had like a 20-win season, which is,
Yeah,
I think that's like, that sounded like a.
yeah, last year they won 4 games, and I think the year before they said they
Right.
won 3, so.
And the girls lost to the #1 team in the
Yes.
state in our class, which was
Yep.
Carlisle.
Yep.
They lost 8-0,
8-0.
but it wasn't a
I think
blowout by
right,
any
I
means,
think that
so
wasn't
I
indicative.
think they did, had a good season, did a good job.
Nice. Proud of our teams for sure.
And that's awesome. It's a big improvement. All right,
Board reports?
yeah, board reports. I think the one thing that we were tracking was the legislative priorities. Thank you all for turning those in, voting on those.
Do you have them listed later on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's right.
Yeah, but that was our
Right,
priority.
and
Yeah.
I already tallied it, so that was easy. We didn't have to have a tiebreaker or anything, so the top 4 were very definitely.
Perfect. Oh, yes, I see him here. Sorry, thank you. We'll get to that. Is there anything else from the board?
I don't have anything. I'm sorry, back up. I got the opportunity to tour the new band room the other day, or the new band rooms, just kind of on a whim. Had to stop by to see Byron over the summer, and he gave me a tour. Nice. And my
Did you wear your hard
gosh,
hat?
big.
What
I did not bring my hard hat.
Oh.
I don't think you're able to walk around. I didn't feel like we snuck in, but
just
yeah,
coming.
very nice. And he said that was on track for beginning of the school year.
It's
They're
painted.
painting
It's
and-
painted, yeah.
Yeah,
They painted ceilings, I think maybe Saturday and today, and they were installing
yeah.
the hangers for the ceiling grid today when I was there, so.
So
Yeah.
fast.
Huge storage, I mean, all sorts of places, a new jazz room, and he was explaining, it was nice because I got a chance to talk to him and he explained about the changes and how they would, they would affect the way he was teaching and not having to strip down a room and rebuild it all the time,
Nice.
so, very cool.
So he was jazzed.
Yes.
Kim, thank you for doing the new
Dad joke.
back to school jokes.
Yeah.
The dad joke.
We can leave
Dad
that
joke,
off.
that was good.
All right, no, definitely moving on. No, is there anything else? Sorry. Okay, moving on to construction. We have a whole number of updates from Story Construction, including a whole bunch of change orders. Adam, do you want to bring out any of those to talk
Yeah,
about?
we can talk about items 1, 2, and 3 first, I guess. Did everybody read the narrative that got sent out? So
I
we
really
kind of know
like-
Yes,
what's
I
going on.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Really
thanks
like
for
that
doing
idea.
that.
We
Yeah.
didn't get pictures this month, but you'll get them again next month, so. And like I've said before, feel free to stop by at any time during the day, check in at the trailer, and take a tour. So if you guys have any questions on the update, if not, we'll move then into change orders.
I have one question, sorry, really quick.
Yeah.
Do we have, like, I know we've had kind of a weird weather,
Yep.
spring, summer. Does that impact any of our estimated dates of completion?
Not yet.
Okay, but
So-
it's eating into a little bit of
Yeah, so the baseball, softball, we still have time to seed and we still have time to overseed, but the ability of the grass to grow, I guess, is up in the air right now. Both the installer and the engineer said there's enough time to seed it and reseed it and still play on it. We'll see.
Okay,
That's what
We priced out changing some of the areas to sod and stuff like that, and it was just really expensive, so unless somebody directs me and tells me that we have to play baseball there next year, right now, we're just seeding and overseeding. The way the weather was for the month of May, just was impossible to get started with the rain
Yeah.
and precipitation, so.
You start seeding then in September then is when? you did
August, we'll start in August.
that? Okay, okay.
Was it, I'm sorry if I misunderstood this, was it ever on the docket that we would be playing there next
It
year?
was.
because I always heard we had to have a full year of grass. We wanted to play on the second year, so I think I imagined that was further down.
The original plan was to seed in June, and it would be growing
Full
now.
year, gotcha,
And
this was our
then if
full
we
year.
needed to overseed, we could do that in the fall, and that's considered the second growing season.
Okay,
And then we would play on it next April or May, whenever,
got it.
May, I guess, is May, June. So, yeah.
I can attest, during our site observations in June, I remember walking in tire treads that were up to my waist, just from all the rain, and so
Yeah.
to get, it's been a wet spring, so.
Well, the good thing is we have a place to play if we can.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And after the softball game, I was with Wade Nelson, one of the coaches, and we talked a little bit about the condition, the state of, the construction out there. And he's like, well, that's fine. We don't have to play out there next year. He said, our field looks so nice right now, and it's in such good condition that
Good.
it'll be fine. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good to hear that. I mean, generally when something like that slips or moves or something, it's the opposite that you get, so.
Good.
I'm glad the upgrades were done on the existing fields, and
Yeah.
Yeah, they look really
they're
nice.
enjoying those, so. Let's see, so the first item is for redoing some existing restroom and, I guess it's just restroom tile at the middle school. In front of each locker room, there's a restroom. It's got, 2 or 3 fixtures and a sink, and then doors that open up into each locker room. Wasn't something that was included in the original scope, but just during, I guess, the start of construction and maybe a little bit in pre-construction when Art did some walkthroughs, and then Dan from facilities here brought to our attention that there was some loose tile and that it was starting to delaminate. So it was separating the grout that's underneath the tile, separating from the concrete floor. Cracks in the grout, let moisture get underneath, and over time it just eats away at it and it delaminates it. So there are areas that have already popped out and areas that are loose that you can hit and you can see the tile move. So this price, Dan thought it would be, I guess, smart for us to price it since we have a tile guy that's going to be there anyway, on site anyway, to have him price the replacement of both of those bathrooms. And that's what this is for. So something that wasn't included in the initial scope, but something that came afterwards that made sense for us to do and include in the work as we're going through it.
I included in my site notes when we were right at the very first start of design that in the women's restroom, there was probably 1 square foot that I stepped on and felt a little squishy, but I had in my notes, let's watch this. Well, we designed the rest of the project, we bid it out, construction started, and lo and behold, a year later, nearly all of the tile in both the men's and women's restroom had delaminated in the last year. It's just kind of once a little bit goes, it all starts to deteriorate pretty quickly. So that's why we didn't kind of flag it in the original design, but we have the opportunity to catch it now before the construction's done. So we've reviewed the pricing with Story, and we feel confident that this is a good price to tile a good amount of area in both that men's and women's restroom.
That was accepted, but I don't think it was.
We actually need to take action tonight because it was over the $10,000 limit.
Oh, okay.
That's why it
Because
wasn't
said
in-
accepted, that's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we had to bring it and put it on the agenda.
So
Got
can
it.
we do these as a package?
Yep.
for you?
Yeah, let's do that.
So my limit is 10,000 when we do it. This happened to be over, that's why we're.
Yeah, so all the 10,000 or less are in the folder and they're
Yeah.
just listed, so.
Yeah,
Thank
saw
you.
those. I think I was just confused because it said accepted.
Gail,
Already checked.
do you want to review this since it's a change and not a CR? It is under $10,000. I guess I don't know if that makes a difference. This one.
Oh, okay.
The second one is over $10,000, so.
Yeah, okay. So this is,
So
we just need a signature on that one?
yeah.
Okay.
So the storage, so we bid out the storage building as an alternate. The alternates weren't accepted at the time of the bid. Tyler and I don't know who else said, let's not accept just a couple of the alternates. let's add it as a change order. So it was always discussed that the Booster Club would provide the building and everything that goes on above grade. We're providing the utilities, the foundations, and in the slab as part of our project. So this is the change order that includes that. They priced it at the time of the bid, so the price, they both said their price is still good, so we didn't have to go out and get pricing from anybody for it. They had already done it. We're just adding it, and this is the formal document that does that.
And this just the electrical for that?
So yeah, the first one is Van Manen, and then this one is the foundations and all of the slabs.
Okay.
So we will, it's under 10,000, so number 3 won't need board action. So number 1 and number 2 are the two that will need board action.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, stands approved. Thank you all. Yes.
So I think that wraps up what we still have more on the agenda to talk about for that. Can we just, one more time, Adam, like I love this summary, the kind of summary that you have.
Yep.
So just to kind of go through the approved changes.
Yep.
It totals 128,171. Now plus the whatever that we just approved tonight.
45.
Just, yeah, those two. All the other ones that we didn't,
Are
I
in
guess,
the
review or
128.
take action are included in that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're still at a good spot in
Yep.
terms of where we've got
Yep,
percentage-wise
and
and
like we've talked before, so we always compare the used percent of construction contingency to the overall percent complete.
Yeah,
We're 36% complete on construction, 26%
yeah,
usage on contingency, so
we're still,
we're still in a good
okay.
spot at this point.
Do you feel that we're in a situation too, because a lot of the HVAC things we're moving forward pretty quickly on, and sometimes those can be problematic, but you know, something pops up, oh, we didn't know this was there, that was there. We haven't really hit a lot of that.
Right.
So, I mean, is that a good sign in your opinion, or both your opinions?
We do have one at the elementary school that is being priced now, that will come in for items, I'll say, above the ceiling or that were hidden, that will require us to reroute ductwork through.
Yeah, I think we've already talked.
I think
we've already talked about it.
Yeah, we talked behind the scenes about that one. So
Yep.
that will be coming in. I mean, remodel areas, I think really that's the one. The elementary building is where we found some issues.
Yeah, and even that one, in the grand scheme of $14 million in total projects, I think it's going to be a fairly minimal change compared to the overall construction amount. So it's looking pretty good right at this point in time for our change orders and our contingency amounts. So.
Thank you.
And so remind me again, so we'll have the band room ready to go, we'll have the multi-purpose room at the middle school ready to go.
So the multi-purpose room at the middle school will be ready in October.
In October, okay, a little
Well,
delay.
that's,
Okay, yeah.
that's the deadline. I think we'll have it ready before that.
Okay,
But yeah, it's October, they want it to use for wrestling season whenever they start. So I think October 1st is when we were planning on turning it over.
okay, fantastic.
The band room will be ready, and then the remodeled areas, we'll say like in the middle school, there's space that we're remodeling. We're putting in some skylights into some classrooms. Those areas will be ready.
Good.
And
Locker room.
let's see, the locker room renovations will be ready, and then what else at the high school? I guess that's it. I guess maybe just where we tie in with the high school west addition, there's some curtain wall we have to take out. That work will be done.
What about your intermediate and elementary as far as the HVAC?
Yep.
The plan is that we're going to be able to occupy those and...
Yeah, I think this building is August 12th, and I think over there it's the 9th maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, they'll be done with ductwork in the 6 classrooms, in the band vocal, I think by the end of this week, and we're starting to paint in those 6 classrooms Wednesday, I think. So they'll paint, put the ceilings up, and shine it up.
Great.
That's great. Any other questions?
And all
regarding
the
facilities?
meeting minutes, all the meeting notes are
Yep.
in the folder.
Love that.
All right, let's move on to bakery, dairy, and petroleum product bids.
I'm sure you guys all came just for this tonight.
This is exciting. Here we go.
There's controversy.
So,
Controversy.
Anderson
There's
Erickson.
always some controversy, right?
Yeah, we had Mr. Beecher receive lots of letters from kids saying that they wanted Anderson Erickson milk back.
They did.
But they didn't
People have
understand the
spoken.
whole process of the bidding process.
Right.
So, even with the bidding process, we are going to be able to fulfill our request.
That's right.
And people have spoken.
The bids were on our side.
Good job, kids.
We've listened.
The students have spoken and we've listened.
Yeah,
I
so
have a problem.
the yellows mean, in those areas it was successful. And so overall, it looks like Anderson Erickson had the most yellow. And so that would be a suggestion for the milk. And as you can see, we sent out all these. I included everybody we sent. So we had 4 or 5 companies for milk. Only 2 sent them back. Bakery, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and only 1 returned it.
Did they say why they don't return them?
It's out of their territory.
Is that the rules, so they just have the play nice rules? Huh?
Yeah, so of course Bimbo is approved.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
And-
Dubuque can do it, but Des Moines can't.
Yeah.
That's what it's for Boone or.
Yeah. And it was interesting because Casey's out of Sioux Center, they have a 60-mile radius. They did include that. So Casey's up in Sioux City, but it's interesting because there's so many Casey's around. But there must be. And Fairway, I was kind of shocked about Fairway. But
In Boone.
Yeah.
yeah, and so then here's the one that's so confusing. I think we had a little bit, Lindsay was talking to the vendors today, that next year maybe we'll change our bid process for fuel, because it's so confusing for us to calculate, let alone, so I think we're going to next year simplify it. And from the help, but it looks like from everything we made, he made several phone calls today, make sure that are we comparing the same thing? Because as you can see, with New Century, you add 14 cents, 16 cents. With Key Cooperative, they give you the base price, and then you discount it by 10 cents. So everybody has their own calculations. And we did confirm that all these prices were on the same day, so we could compare. So overall, Lindsay, what did you say? New Century is...
New Century is the one. They use what they call a DOT rack price. I guess I'm learning more as we get into this. And next year, I believe that we will ask for a DOT rack price. And then if you want to go ahead and bid, you can bid it's so many cents above the rack price. But we run number 2 fuel, diesel fuel in our buses, which you probably already know. In our support vehicles, like our vans and our cars, we run basically the unleaded. And we have stayed away from it. We bid it out and we'll probably drop it for next year. We don't run a lot of biodiesel. Our transportation director isn't a big fan of that right now and things. Propane, I'm trying to think of, I think we have a couple propane tanks down with the portables, and I'm not sure if that's, I could check with our insurance company. I bet they could probably tell us. But I think that the biggest thing is that when we looked at this, we tried to make sure it was an apples to apples comparison, and that is getting more and more challenging. The thing that we like about this is the fact that there's a monitor right on top of that barrel out there, and when that thing starts to tell, it sends a signal that we're getting low. We don't have to call in and say, hey, by the way, we're doing this or we're doing that. And as you know, our buses stay outside. So it's important that when we need to go from a number 2 to a number 1, when we get into the winter season, we need to have it, and we need to have it right away. So we had this company last year, and they did a good job. And I know that Bruce was excited about the fact that they would be the ones that we would be actually saying would be good for this year.
That's the same vendor as this year, currently, or last year, sorry, okay.
The only thing that's changed was the milk. So we'll have to blast that one out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
fan favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, the language arts teacher sends these letters to me, from these kids about the milk and the whatever.
You need approval on that, right?
So I would say the recommendation would be AE for the dairy, Bimbo for the bakery, and New Century for the fuel.
And just so that you know, and Gail did a good job of pointing this out, because I think maybe a year or two back, we kind of, the thought process was, well, maybe we weren't out seeking different vendors. Look at all those vendors. I mean, there's a lot of things that are sent out there. Tia puts that together and sends that information out. And like I said, there's not much you can do when you send out that many for your bread bids and you only get one back.
Do we send out last year's winning bid with those things?
Last year's, no, we don't.
We might want to think about that, because if the margins get wide enough, then they might be able to say, well, I could go for more than 60 miles for that. So think about that.
Oh.
I thought about that.
Because they know they
Bad
would be-
idea.
Well, I mean, it's easy to say pass on a contract if I don't know what the margin is, but you could at least make an assumption of, if we're getting out of whack, at least we put it out there.
You know what,
publicly.
why don't we, when we write our letters tomorrow,
Mhm.
why don't we send our successful bid to everybody?
Yes.
Even no bid.
Mhm.
And then they have it for next year, and then they could determine and look at it and analyze it, then next year, because they'll get a letter next year.
But I think,
So let's-
even
we'll
throwing it
send a
on next
letter.
year's letter is good too, from the standpoint of,
Yeah.
putting 2 and 2 together of, it's right here handy, I'm getting ready to bid, okay.
Because there are a couple that, not maybe this past year, but, well, the dairy bid was one that has changed, but sometimes they sharpen their pencil a little bit more when they, they
Yeah, I
want
don't
to
think
be.
it hurts anything.
No, I don't think so.
But I'll leave it up to you, but it's just an idea.
No, we can send that out.
Yeah. No joke.
All right, so we need an action to approve for AE Bimbo and New Century.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Stand approved. Thank
You
you.
guys gonna head out?
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you
coming.
all.
I'm gonna tell my son that he's gonna have A&E milk next year.
There you go.
See, maybe get Jen to announce that. Yes.
See how they're at.
Yeah, we see.
Good night.
See you, thanks for coming.
I think it tastes better.
They did.
All right, now it's my time to say for the 2019-20 legislative priorities, thank you all for putting in your vote here. Yeah, it's pretty clear. I think this is very similar to last year, if I recall. This feels similar.
I'd have to look that up. I'm sorry, I didn't even have that.
No, that's fine. Totally fine. I think.
The other thing, yeah, I'm not sure about the teacher leadership and development, but the others were
Yeah.
almost positive.
So it was definitely, so on number seven, that, definitely had 10, like I said, 10. And then teacher number 12 had 6 votes. And then number 19 had,
4, 5.
oh, I didn't put that in there. Number 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then number 20 had 4. And those are the top ones.
I was out of town. I totally spaced it.
Okay.
I'd move approval.
Second, sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, stands approved. Thank you all.
Did we have,
Oh.
did we had already decide who was going to go to the legislative?
Reappointed time.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh.
know.
I had,
You're not.
I don't remember.
No,
Did we?
this is after the election, right?
Yeah.
So it's between Deb and John.
okay.
We're the
Yeah.
only.
So what we said, it was, ISB is a week after the election, after our board meeting, so.
Good learning experience,
I think that the new incoming president should,
Yeah, I mean, I was.
whoever that
If you
is.
have not been, it would be
It's
quite.
for that day, the day. what is
It's,
it?
the day
yeah, it's my
before.
favorite part of the ISB
Yeah.
convention because it gets
And you
spicy.
can-
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Yeah.
put Deb down. Set it right through
You
now.
can get a little fun.
Do you want it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Legislative first.
Okay, we got that.
There
Absolutely.
you go.
All right, Deb,
Be in
thank
favor
you.
of that.
You wanna go some?
Absolutely in favor of that.
I've been
John's been
doing
several
it
years.
for like a lot.
Several
Yeah,
years,
it
yeah.
4 or
took
5
over
years.
when I
Yeah, it's not
let
bad.
go.
It's
Hey,
pretty
regarding
easy.
these policies, did you all meet on
Yep.
these? Is there anything that you want to bring up in the overall policies? Was there like a cover letter or something? I thought
There
I saw
was.
like a little overview. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
As one of the board policy committee
Oh.
members, I'd like for us as a board to discuss 505R1 Lindsay and Deb and I talked about it quite at length, and Lindsay has had some conversations with Mike. I mean, it has to do with our grading policies. Of course, everybody read through all the rest of them, right?
Mm-hmm. I did, and I have a few. I had 4 of them that I had some questions on.
Yeah,
But.
Do you want to ask your questions before we jump into this, or?
I have.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't see that change.
No, so if you scroll down, Gail.
There's a typo right there, though, Gail, that collage.
Yeah, collage.
Yeah.
It should be college.
Yep.
You get 3 more comments on
Yep.
this, John.
Yeah, I wanted to get that easy one.
Yep. So if you jump down just a little bit farther when we get to
That takes
middle
one
school.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, extensive changes.
Yep. So when we get down to the middle school, keep going.
There we go.
All right. So as we all know here, Gail, can you keep going down just a little bit
Yeah, I'm
more?
going to do 2-page views.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There we go. So at the middle school, as we know, we've moved to a standards based grading, and but apparently, and Lindsay, please jump in at any point in time. Our parents are still asking for the ABCDF conversion.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling, and then I'd like to hear what the rest of you have to say, is that if we're going to stand behind, if we as a board are going to stand behind standard-based grading, then we need to do standard-based grading, and we need to stop with the conversion, because if you look at the conversion for the middle school, it does not in any way, shape, or form compare to the high school. If you see there,
3.0.
I mean, like a 3.0 is what?
73%.
Yeah. So it's just not a good conversion. So Mr. Beecher talked to Mike, and Lindsay, please take
Right.
over from this point on.
Mike was on vacation, so I talked to him, and we set up a meeting and actually talked this afternoon. And just as Kim said, we at the middle school are on standards-based grading. So if you take a look at that, a standards-based grading would be a 3, 2, 1, or a 0 that the student could get that. And that's different than it is at the high school. You know, you might receive an A, a B, a C. But one of the things when this was first brought about, I think Chris Billings was maybe the one that brought this to the table. The thought process was, well, can we do a hybrid? Can we do a standards-based grading, but still, as a parent, you like to see, well, how is my son or daughter doing? So this is what they came up with for a grading scale. And it's funny that this actually came up because Mike had talked to me about this before we actually started to review this policy. And he said, you know, I think that we're getting to the stage where we need to go ahead and make the full move, which if you have an intermediate child, they have that right now. They have that the standards based as a 3210. He said we need to go ahead and do this. What we talked about as a policy team was how do we do this and how do we make sure that people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it?
Right.
Because
Yeah, it's a communication issue, really, right?
Right.
Exactly. I think that we have a great community that's very supportive, but if we're going to do something, if we're going to make a change, we should tell them why we're doing it and how this will be done. So when we looked at this, we looked at it from the standpoint of I think that I think the staff at the middle is ready to go according to him on the standards base. But what we want to do is we want to have a few parent meetings and get some information out, like a parent-teacher conferences, to say, you know, here's what we're looking at, and we're going to be changing this. When you see something next year for your child, it's going to be on the standards base. It isn't going to be an A, a B, or a C. And really, at the middle school, grade point means that's non-existent. That's not a factor.
We did discuss, though, if a middle school student takes a high school
Collage.
level course, then they would receive that ABCD anything that goes on their grade point.
Well, that's
Right.
because you're
For high
following,
school, right.
you're
It's high
following
school
high
grading.
school grading if you're taking a high school class. Yeah.
So my only concern is that as we review this policy, it doesn't make any sense to me if our movement is towards standard-based to even keep that conversion in there, because that conversion makes no sense.
You mean, why do we have that second sentence on there
Right,
if we're
as
going
such,
in?
the adjusted grading scale, I think that should be stricken, and I think that, it is what it is.
I like this.
It makes no sense.
Mhm.
I just say,
It just doesn't.
I'm in favor of dropping all of that as long as we can communicate sufficiently to the patrons.
Right.
'cause
And I think
that'll
that's
be
what
shocking.
Mike was talking about. He wants to make sure that we do that, our job of communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
proficient would really be an A or a B, and C's
Developing, yes.
perhaps, and then,
45%
D and F are gonna be
Yeah.
I know, right?
not quite
Yeah.
where it needs to be, right?
Well, I'll just say this. What I like about the standards-based grading is it's more around like comfort and familiarity with the topic as opposed to like a snapshot of proficiency, right? Like, well, you got a D, as opposed to like, well, you're at a 1 on this topic. Like, let's keep working to get you to a 2. Like, it feels more like in line with how people learn, and less like just a snapshot in time of like what you got at the moment. So, sorry, that might be, nonsense, but I really like that.
There's conversations to be had, right? I just think, so I am in support of doing this and Mike and his team having those conversations this year and listening to our patrons about it. I agree this doesn't make any sense in our policy. But I think that parents are going to have questions. I know how many of us haven't had that conversation with
Well,
Mike where we said,
Until I sat on the
what's
school
this
board, I'd
standard?
be like, this, you're just
What is
watering it down.
standard-based grading?
This looks like everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah,
And
it looks like
the
that.
reality of it, for our TV
Yeah.
audience is that we can take standardized tests and we'll remember that for maybe 30 days. And the information's all available on Google. And so our intention with the standards-based grading is the idea is have you mastered the concept or not? And to keep people working on it until they've mastered it and then move on to
Yep,
the next
yep.
one. And
Yeah.
so I think that's the message we need to communicate, which I
think
think I can see Mr. Billings saying that,
Mhm.
to us a few years ago,
Yep.
and I think it's on point, but I do believe that it has a lot of messaging
Yep.
that we have to get there, because I don't think it stops at the middle school. I think we need to be doing this at high school as well.
Right.
And having
Yep.
those discussions.
Talk a little bit about, I know you've had discussions with Mike, this is before this was even out there, about the standards-based grading is a little bit different because of the fact that if I did some type of an assignment and let's say maybe I got a 0 or a 1, what happens in that situation?
Well, I'll be honest, so that's right. I was one of those people. I had that question. Wait a minute, it feels really soft. This just feels soft, and I said, it feels soft, and how many chances do you get? I don't walk into my boss and get 8 chances to make an impression about that. And rightfully so, it was a great conversation, which is why I want everyone to have the option to hear this. This is middle school, Deb, and don't you want them to learn the material? Isn't that really what this is about at this point? And and absolutely, there's accountability, right, that goes along with it. But are we trying to get him to learn the material or not? He does it much better than I could, so I don't need to speak for him. But
Yeah.
I would just love that. I think we all get it. We're on the same page. I would love for our district to have that same opportunity to really hear that
Mhm.
message and just get on board with it.
And Mr. Billings characterized it as if it was like riding a bicycle and
Yeah,
you never learn to make right turns.
yeah,
How are you going to get to the unicycle?
yeah,
So if it takes 8 times to learn how to turn your bicycle to the right,
Yeah.
you need to take 8 times to learn how to turn your bicycle to the right, and then we can start working on the unicycle.
But you can be a very successful adult without ever learning to ride the unicycle. But yes, yes. But so
Yes. So my thoughts were, just as when we changed the, John, maybe you remember, when we changed the number of credits required for graduation, we spelled out in the policy when things would happen, at what, this class, it would move to this, and this class, it would move to this. My thoughts were simply that in this policy, that we would wipe out that conversion and that we would say, in the 2019-20 school year, we would be having, however you want to word it.
Yeah, you would
but
take out
but
that
by the
second.
2021 school year, this is how we will grade
We'd
our
use
middle school students.
a year of education
Yes.
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
And that's, I just
Yeah.
want us to be careful when we say next school year that we actually say.
Yeah, I think it needs to be.
2021,
Yeah.
because I do believe we want to do
Yeah.
a good job of communicating.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But
It's
no
a
undue
change
stress.
for us
Yeah.
older
No,
folks, right?
Oh, absolutely, because
To get
without the
away from
context
that.
of all of the things that we've learned as being
Yeah.
school board members, you wouldn't
It's a
understand.
tricky
Right.
one, yeah.
I would, this is not on this policy, but I would throw something out that I would like to remove 603.1 until we've had a little bit more opportunity to have discussion on that. So I would like to, maybe I should have told you that, Brian, at the very beginning,
Oh,
but
that's
I would
fine.
like to pump that one out. Our policy, and what the IASB one is really short and sweet, and ours goes into a lot of detail, and I want to kind of merge the two because I think we have some good things in it. So please, if we can, do that. 603.1, I would like to bring that back to you at the next board meeting.
Was
with
that
some
revisions?
changes,
Okay.
if that's
Okay, we're
okay.
not taking action this evening anyway, so.
Did you,
And
John?
John, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a couple. So on 502.4, it was highlighted 10 days, but I didn't know what the old
That was
definition
funny
was.
because in our, do you mind, I'm sorry I
Go
just
ahead.
jumped in on this,
Jump
but
in.
when we had this conversation, there's another policy that is, like, well, there are two others, and one is for teacher complaints and one is for like public complaints. And we had different days on how long they had to work. So they'll discuss the matter with the principal within 10 days. I think it used to be like 5.
Right.
It said 3 to 5.
3 to 5, you're right.
And so we just made this the same for any type of, whether it be a teacher with a grievance, whether it be a student with a
You're exactly right.
So we
Okay.
were just making that.
Yeah, I was
consistent.
just, in my own, I was like, well, 10 days isn't very long, but
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
it used to
at
be
least
3
we're
to
heading in the
5.
right direction.
Right,
Yes,
right.
Yeah, we're
I'm good with
moving.
it then.
Further.
Just from the standpoint, if people
Yeah.
have legitimate
Yeah. I
beef,
would-
you know, give
I
them
would
a
hate to
light
see
of
us-
day to talk about it, but
I would hate to see
okay,
us
as
do
long
that.
as it's going in the right direction.
Deb did a good job explaining that. We're being consistent with our policies that
Yeah.
kind of intertwine.
Yeah.
Did you have another one, John?
And then on 401.7, I kind of like the IRS thing, so we don't have to mess around with it, but that might not be what the state was promulgating, or where did we come up with the 45 instead of using the 58?
That was a board decision.
Didn't we talk about that last year?
Yeah,
We did.
It was,
Surveyed.
yeah, we came up with 45 cents.
Oh, we didn't have the IRS standard? Oh, we never did that, huh?
We never did that.
Oh, okay.
No.
All
So
right.
this is 45 cents is
Oh.
what's currently in place.
And that was just by sending it out and saying, hey, what are other schools doing?
Yep. Yeah, we did a survey.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
What is the IRS one? Is there a note?
58.
Yeah,
It's
It's
more-
58?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying, I'd be hacked if
Yes.
Yeah?
you know, I'd be like, well, the IRS doesn't give any freebies.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it would cost. And we were tough on budget, I know when we were working this.
And we
first
also
go around,
offer
so-
a vehicle that
Right.
you can take too.
We don't
Right.
have a lot of people that take
Yeah.
their personal vehicles.
No, we don't.
The people that take their personal vehicles are basically probably administrators.
Okay,
But when it comes to traveling out of state to meetings, they take a school vehicle. So it doesn't happen all that much.
okay, all right. And then the last one was 707.5.
That's the one I had a question on too.
You, Brett.
I know, I think it was just a typo.
I know.
And and this just has a hyped up deal as a result of some of the goings on. And so was this proposed from the state as a result of what had happened in Des Moines?
Yes,
Okay.
you're exactly right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, was this us going to work, or is this us matching kind of what they had?
This is what IASB recommended
Okay.
because of some of the things that have been in the news.
Okay.
And my only comment on this, I was at the meeting, so I'm just not sure that I tracked these changes. So I thought that we talked about in this policy that we want to make it as easy as possible for anybody to report something. And so we had this and or. And like in the third paragraph, Gail, where just before the first yellow highlight, we talk about employee can report this immediately to his or her immediate supervisor and to the superintendent. And I thought we were going with the and or.
We were.
We want to make that
Okay.
as just as open
That-
as possible. Listen, there's not a big.
That was my fault, because I think I put just and in there,
Yeah.
both of them, so
Yeah.
that's.
So it should be and/or.
Yeah, and or, just because we want people to have whatever opportunity to just speak
Right.
and not feel like.
Well, exactly, because if it's your supervisor,
Exactly.
then you want an alternate.
I
Right.
think that's the conversation we had about that too.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it just got missed.
No. Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay, that's all I had.
And on 7055R1, this is a new policy. 7055R1. So with this in place, basically allows us to have food and refreshments at meetings and some things that we already practice and we do, but it's about public purpose of all of our funds. So like for the break room, whoever drinks coffee provides their own coffee. But the Culligan water, we have some coffee supplies in here that the board expenses. It's a board expense that we keep here for like some of our big meetings, our gatherings, things like that. But at the individual levels at each building, people who either they contribute to the fund or they bring their own coffee for the whatever. But the district does provide the Culligan water. So.
Basically, it had to be available, like in places where the public could also have access. It was essentially what it said. I mean, I think we kind of went back and forth, like you feel like you want to do as much as possible, but.
And you can see where this is, what's things that have come about and why this policy is there.
Yeah. Somebody made a bonehead move that made it ruined it for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion on policies?
That's the first reading.
Yep, so no action taken possible next meeting or second reading, we can. All right, moving on to the Grantwood AEA Financial Management Software Agreement. This is the annual.
This is what Gail uses a lot. You want to say anything about
No,
it?
505, 506 are both annual fees.
Are the
Definitely
costs
recommend approval.
kind of in line with what we've had historically then?
Yeah, it's all based on student enrollment, so our student enrollment goes up.
Okay.
Goes up.
Move approval.
Can we do both, or are we doing one at the same time?
Move
One at a
approval.
time?
One at a time.
Second.
Okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
So that's 505, thank you, all stands approved. And 506, Power School Access Agreement with Grantwood Area AEA, 14,000.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I do want to just, for just a second, I'll take just a quick second. We are going to be having something that our registrar is going to be rolling out, and we are going to have online registration. And people say, well, why do you have to do this? You know, I've lived in the same spot for such and such years. We want to make sure that we know that you live there, how many kids you have, if there's any medical history or anything like that. So we're going to be asking all of our patrons to register online. I can't do the commercials probably as good as the ladies in our office can, but it's going to be something short and sweet, and then everyone will know. You know, I know that Deb lives at this spot, and she has X amount of kids, and so on and so forth. We just want to make sure our data is as clean as can be.
Will it self-populate with the prior years? That's the only thing that
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
if it doesn't, we should really try and get it to do that,
Yeah,
because
I
that's,
can't
I think most
answer
people,
that.
that's what aggravates them the most is like, Really? I gotta fill out my address?
Usually, in the past, it's just going to say if it's different.
Review,
Yeah.
We can ask that.
I know what this will allow is, we have, like, especially at the elementary and the different buildings, they have to create additional spreadsheets for information. Well, with this, it'll generate.
It's a database kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
will save lots of time, so it'll be nice.
And if someone doesn't have access to the
And that's-
internet, I send
We are
them.
gonna have
And people are
stations.
getting-
Good question.
So smart, awesome, okay,
We will
great.
have workstations, so they can come in and we can help them.
I love that, thank you.
We're gonna have like work sessions that they come in and.
That's
I'm gonna
nice.
make it very easy.
Okay.
Good.
I'll be in.
All right, so,
I struggle.
so school fees,
K-Prep is the addition here.
So everything else is the same.
Everything else is the same. We needed to add K-Prep, which is half of the cost of a K-12, because they're going half the time. So this was, I don't know if it was a timing or we didn't approve K-Prep when we did these, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just an afterthought, but the K-Prep is the only addition here.
So breakfast, lunch, and milk, they provide us with the funds that we can have or that we need to cover our expenses? Did we discuss this already for this year?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All these were, I think it was June.
When was it? Was
June.
it? No, it wasn't just last month.
Yeah, I think it was.
was it? It doesn't feel like we've talked about this in a
No,
while.
no, we have, yeah, we have.
It wasn't May,
It
because that would
wasn't-
have been way early. We weren't even out of school yet, so it was
I'm
the,
here for June.
it was in June.
Move approval?
Second. Gotcha.
Okay, who has that second? Kim?
Yeah.
Oh, sneaky Kim. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I remember Tyler asking, making sure. that-
Oh, okay, excellent. Let's talk about a mower here, the Van Wall equipment.
Yep, we're in the situation as we're adding on space to our buildings, we're adding on areas that we need to mow. And one of the things that we would like to do, we have this in our PEPAL budget, and this is a state bid, by the way, which would be the low bid from Van Wall, would recommend approval of the John Deere Z994R.
Now, I have a question. Is this, the whole mower is 64, or what are all these other, I was
It's
confused
the
when I looked at this.
15432 right here.
Yeah, some
Okay.
of those were other things that they looked at.
Yeah.
Because, and when you say it's a state bid, what does this mean?
That means the state already does the bidding process for us. And
Oh, and then you
offer
just
that.
gotta pick one out? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so they've
fantastic.
done all the work for us, so it's
Fine.
a state.
So, I know that every summer, or whatever, we have this bid to have people mow for us. So is this like for athletic?
We actually we did
did
not
not do that.
purchase, we did not, this year we are using
We
our
did
own
not
staff.
outsource. Yeah.
Oh,
When we hired Steve Volstead as the grounds person, he's taken over that, so we did not outsource our mowing.
Yeah, so
But it
we
looks
have-
really good.
Yeah.
well, I remember because I thought, oh my gosh.
Be a lot of mowing.
That's a good gig.
Some of you that are in the
So-
mowing area, we got a mulcher on this and the tweels?
Well, this is like, this
You
is
heard
like,
of them? I don't know what exactly it is, but they've added that on there too, so.
this is like pays for itself in 2 years.
Yeah, and they're slick. They're made to mow big areas.
So we just need to get on a maintenance plan and just keep this up and just, so many hours, you just keep.
Like with the buses. So moved.
Yes, you're right.
Did you get that?
Kim and
Yeah.
Deb.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, stands approved, thank you. All right, so 509, reviewing the board policy 407 for early retirement. This is something we have to review annually,
Yeah.
or was recommended that we
It was
review.
recommended, yeah.
review
They
annually.
want the board in control of this, and the recommendation is that it's not an ongoing policy, because then it kind of almost becomes something that is, the teaching staff owns it, which they want the board to be in control, and so they want the board to have a say in, yes, we're going to offer it, no. So the purpose of offering it every year is, I wanted to show you that, like for our early retirees and our new hires, we end up for next year having almost $117,000 savings, and that's from general fund, and then the management fund is where we pay for the early retirement. So we have 117,000 savings in the general fund, and then we actually pay out 123 from the management fund. So I wanted to show you in the background of why we do this, why we offer it. here's the figures.
Remind me how much we put into the management fund annually?
Annually, I'll have to look that up on our budget.
Okay.
But
I'm just curious, like, do you feel comfortable with that large amount going out?
Oh, we budget for that.
Okay,
That
so
is
we
part
kind of know, right?
Oh,
We know,
absolutely.
okay,
That's
cool.
part of our,
Yeah.
and especially when our management levy dropped because our work comp, I got the bill today, that dropped dramatically. But no, we take that in consideration. When we do the management levy
Yeah.
at April
Good work.
15th, we determine what our expenses are, early retirement, and we do it based on the maximum. Now, if we don't have people take it, that money just rolls over. So even though our levy we may not need to levy for that every year, because if it's not spent, it just stays there.
And you take 5 people, the first 5 that sign up is what you take. You have the ability as a board, if you want to take more, I think you've done that once since I've been here. But again, just like she said, we have to look at it, you have to kind of know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Some people may say, why in the world are you doing this type of thing? Well, there's a prime example right there.
And, at some point, I can see that, it depends on the age of your staff. As that moves across, there may be a point that it's not a big dollar amount being used. It's not probably. But right now, we do have a lot of years of service of people, so.
Because is that a one year thing then? On
They
payout?
They do one, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
If you're looking.
One payout.
I'm sorry, I
No,
didn't mean to interrupt you.
just one payout.
If you're looking at maybe something down the road, I would, and I'm not promoting that, I'm not saying that should be the case, but I think that we want to be fair to our people and so that they know, because there's people that, look kind of pinpoint when they get to this certain stage of their life that they will look at that early retirement. It's been a great opportunity, and I'm not promoting that we throw it out the door by any means. But if there's going to be any changes that you're looking at, this is maybe just an example of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah, I think the communication, we would have to be probably 2 to 3 years out.
Yes.
Because just to respect of our retirees, they plan for this, and it's part of their retirement.
Yes.
So we would just have to start that message early if the board decides to.
So do you need us to, is this the first reading of it?
Actually,
Or is
it's
it
in place, it's just that you're going to continue
Informative.
it.
So do you need us to vote
Yeah.
on it now? So I vote, well, what's that?
You're going to approve offering them.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right. Yeah,
Sorry,
you're
you just
doing
did
great.
that.
No, you're doing great. I love it. No, it's good. I'm gonna sit back. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, excellent. Continuing to offer this. Thank you all. All right, so this one's a little trickier. The revenue purpose statement for the November 5th election. We had talked about this previously, and now we have the actual language, right?
Yes, I've included the actual language. Here's the revenue purpose statement, which they changed the state law. So for us to have seamless in the future, so we don't miss out on our opportunity for borrowing power, we need to update our revenue purpose statement. So that is the purpose to get it on the ballot for November 5th, just so we don't.
All encompassing.
So remind me, you said update. We have one of these in place
We do,
already? Okay.
but it sunsets, and the law, and that was a revenue purpose statement
Yeah.
at that point in time. Now the law has changed, it's been updated.
That's right.
And so they moved the sunset, and so we need the most recent, so we're not restricted. And if you're restricted and you don't update it, then it all goes to property tax relief. And we wouldn't be able to have it for borrowing, or for doing
Yeah.
more projects.
And that's where it's important that we go ahead and inform our public when we have in this election what it is, is this something new? No, we've already had this before, but we want to make sure you know what we're doing with those funds that we have.
We could communicate that as when we do the standards-based grading.
Well, this is
This is election.
This also has to go on, yeah.
This is
so
going to
this
be a ballot. The
all
public's going to
voters.
vote on it, and if they don't, that hurts us in our budgeting process, right?
Yeah.
Like, we get less money. And we have to be really clear. I remember this on the bond. We can't say, please vote in this favor.
Right.
We have to just
Educate.
inform, right?
You're
Educate.
right.
So,
Why it's important.
Right.
yeah, this is
Well-
going to be, this is just, we just have to work
Yeah,
at this.
and past projects are always a good, hey, this is what you funded with this.
And we will look for help from ISB and our partners
Yeah,
because,
Everybody's
there'll
gotta
be
do it.
many of these going to the poll in November.
Mm-hmm.
because all schools, that have this,
Yeah.
they've been all directed to include this and update
Yeah.
it, so.
John's is a great example, though. This is what we've used this for in the past.
Right.
People understand that, wow, this is something that we don't want to
We need
lose.
to
It's critical
continue.
for a growing district.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so that I think is, so the discussion items is basically the revenue purpose statement, anything that's going to be on the ballot for November 5th. We need to pass a resolution, which the sample resolutions are here, either the August or the September board meeting for it to meet the requirement for November 5th.
Can
So-
we do it tonight?
Is
No,
this,
we don't have
Okay.
it ready yet.
Okay.
okay,
I-
so
I-
we don't have a statement,
No
because it's
action.
not, a big long statement is not what you would see on the ballot, right? I saw the Pearl one, but I'm
Yeah,
trying to find, like,
that would be, the revenue purpose statement
the
would be
big
on the
long,
ballot.
like, page and a half thing is what would be on the ballot.
Our legal counsel does the paperwork for that.
Yeah,
So they need to know the date we're going to take action,
okay.
and then we need to let them know the location and the time. So they're going to provide all the paperwork and the resolution that we would need to take action and sign. So I need to report back to them whether it'll be the August meeting.
Let's do
I think
August.
August, we
With
need
the idea of
communication
gives us
time.
more time to
Okay.
communicate.
Yep, I
Did
agree.
I interrupt you? I think you had another statement.
No, I was just gonna say what John just said. I think the sooner the better, so that we have time to communicate.
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking to Gail, when we were deciding what we were going to do for our projects, and we went with the 14 million on all 4 buildings, we said, sometime in the near future, we're going to be looking at an elementary. This helps us to do some of that work. It's not the whole thing, but it sure helps.
And it's nice that we have that 10-year plan and we can say, hey, this is where your money went.
Yep.
This is where we're planning for it to go. And so these PEPAL funds will be important when we need to. I think that's a great one.
We'll know exactly, once we get through this, the new revenue purpose statement, we'll already have out our bonding capacity with that new revenue statement. So we could say, we have enough bonding capacity with the new revenue purpose statement for this year. Whether it's 2027, 20,
And
whatever
and
that
the nice
year
part
is.
is we know we'll need it. We've had Halo look at it and it'll be nearing its end of its useful life in 2026, 2027. So I think that's all,
Yep.
really we can craft
Move
a
forward,
good message.
continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other one, the Pearl, that's 13.5 cents, and that is for public education and recreation, Pearl. And that is, it generates about, like with this current budget taxable valuation, it would create $77,576. That, all we need is a simple majority on that, but the restriction is you have to spend it on community joint. The community has to be able to use the facility, whether it's a playground, path, whatever, they have to have access. It's a community school joint effort. So, and then I provided a lot of language stuff about that. So hopefully you
Yeah.
found that helpful.
Yeah.
So that one is basically the same November, same timelines. It's just a matter of, and the language, sample language I put in there. Once that is passed, there is no sunset. It is ongoing. That levy never expires.
So is it only available to be put on the ballot during school elections?
No, you could have a special election, and then there's only special times, or on the general election, whatever.
So we could do it a year from now.
Oh, yeah.
and be
Yeah.
fine.
There's
And
no
Because
time.
my own thought would be
Yeah.
is let's not muddy up
Muddy
the
them.
Yeah.
penny tax.
That's
At any
my
time.
thing.
Think about looking at this
Yeah,
next
you can have a
year.
special election. You can throw it when there's, if you just happen to have an election, you can throw it on there. But I just provided the information for.
No, and
so.
yeah, exactly.
I think we have
Yeah.
a lot with school board election moving to November.
Yeah.
And the fact that there are 3 positions open, and I would assume there'd be more than one forum or opportunities to listen to people, and the fact that we really need this other piece to be approved.
It's more important. We don't want to.
I really hate
dilute
to
it.
think people are coming in thinking, oh, nope,
Yeah.
tax relief. because that's really not what it is. But there's just so much we already have to educate people
Not a
on.
big priority, yeah.
Yeah, it worries
But I
me a little.
appreciate the homework.
Okay, so from our discussion, I will contact our legal counsel and have the paperwork for the August meeting for the revenue purpose statement. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Gail and Lindsay, for walking us through all of that. All right, so the Story County Multi-Jurisdiction Local Hazard Mitigation Plan
If
Resolution.
you guys want to come to a stimulating meeting, you should be at the meetings that we have here for this. This is a 5-year commitment. What we do is we work with Keith Morgan from the Story County Hazard Mitigation, and I guess his title is Story County Emergency Management. But what we do is we work together as Story County superintendents, and we come together with a plan, and you can kind of see the plan there. That gives us an idea if something happens within the county, some of the things that we'll do. And we start planning on this about probably 2 to 3 years out before it's even becomes part of this. One of the things that I think that this is something that we should work together with the different Story County entities that are out there. The city is involved in some of these things also. Recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, stands approved, thank you. Hey, so the new board member onboarding document, as we last talked, was going to be taken from the outline form that we constructed in the working session and moved into full English form. I will admit that I did not do that. I have been overwhelmed with the amount of changes going on in my life and did not have time to work on this. I'm very happy to continue to sort of consult and fill that in. Admittedly, after this meeting, for other reasons on this agenda, I probably won't have the type of access I had, to pass historic documents at the board level and all those things. But I do feel a pretty significant desire to see this document become a multi-page sort of full English preparation for incoming board members. I'm also very happy to have someone else run with this as well. So I guess I would look to you sort of as a consultative basis after this, if you'd like me to continue on with this. If not, I'm very happy to hand this over and have someone else work on it. So I would recommend that we do not take any action on this if it's not in a place where we can formally approve this, and I think it isn't ready to be a real document for incoming board members.
Do you, I guess for myself, I'm perfectly comfortable if you, Brian and Deb, want to continue with this. I guess my question would just be the fact that your whole life is being, tossed around. Do you feel like you can have something that we can approve prior to election?
Absolutely.
Him? But he's not on the school board anymore.
I know, but he's offering to continue to help with this document.
I think that we should take it on
Okay.
as our board. I think that we could take that on and do it. Now, I
Okay.
know off to the side if I'm having trouble with some wording.
Well, I was just
golly,
gonna
I know who to do.
Offer to help if you felt like you wanted to step away and.
I'm happy to do either. I feel very passionate about
Okay.
this document,
Yeah.
but I'm 100% respect if the board wants to take this on, and you just call me or send me an email about hey, what does this word mean? Why did you put this?
But you're
in
still a
there?
member of this board, which is what this board is passing to the next board. So,
Yes.
so I really think it's your latitude, Brian, as to your involvement because you are a member of this board. And
Yeah.
so the idea of this is what this board wants to communicate to the next board, that's still in play.
Right.
And so I'm like, I don't care either way, but I'm just saying, I don't want you to feel
I think you can.
like you can't have a voice in it because you are on this board.
Yeah,
I
I think
appreciate
we
that,
can
John.
take. I think we can take that primary responsibility for drafting something. I certainly think your input into that document is welcome and
That's
should
what
be
I
there.
was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is if
So
you'd like me to take some of the burden that you've been
Yeah.
and to work with Deb and to bounce it back and forth
Yeah.
between you and the other board members,
Yes.
I'm happy to take some of that on. It was all I
Okay.
was going to offer.
Perfect. Okay, I feel fine with that. Again, we're not approving it tonight.
Yeah.
We're not taking any action on what we're talking about now. I think that makes a lot of sense, that really, Deb and Kim, you are now kind of the owners of seeing this document through completion. John, to your point, I feel like we got in enough agreement in our work session around what we want to communicate. Now it's just a matter of like converting,
Right.
outlines to kind of paragraphs. And I think we all remember, it's all recorded as well, if anyone wants to go back and look at all those great conversations we had. So I'm not too worried about where we are now to make sure, like I feel confident whoever does it, the intent is going to be preserved throughout the whole thing.
But I do want you to know that.
Leave.
No, to know that your input is welcome.
Yeah, I
And-
appreciate
and
that.
that we do want that.
Right.
I just didn't want it to be your primary responsibility
That's
from
my
California
thoughts were
to work
simply
on
that
that.
the next several weeks would probably be full of
Oh,
something
but-
That
other
could be
than
accurate, yeah.
writing a document, so.
Yep. Dictate to Siri in the car. Okay.
So I will,
That works.
I'll let Kim and Deb let me know when we need to put it as an agenda item again.
Yes.
And when it's ready, so.
Totally.
So kind of what we're working on, Andrew, is the collective of Kim and Tyler's and Brian's experience, and as far as Deb and I, is the continuing on, is what are the major things that we would want to make sure that we communicate. They're important enough that we should reduce them to writing, and so that's really what we're working
I'm
on.
one of the 18 views on YouTube, so yeah, I'm kind of following.
Perfect. That's our all-time high right there, 18. See if you can break it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, on to financial report summary.
Wrong one. Okay. So overall, there's lots of green, and then variance of the monthly expenses is the only red. So going into detail of the reports, just to point out a few things. June, I just want to do just a quick synopsis of school finance. What happens is June 30th is a cash close. We keep our books open through August. So basically, I reconcile on a cash basis June 30th. And then the accrual column here to the far right is basically our 13th month, and we basically, anything that is supposed to be in a June 30th and we're supposed to account for will happen with accruals. So right now is really, we're going to be spending a lot of money. So our open enrollment tuitions, our special ed tuitions, I had to pay out all of our teaching contracts that were July and August. We report them, I don't actually physically give them, but we have to account for that. So there's going to be lots of activity going on in accrual, so I'll bring this back the next board meeting and we'll revisit this and to see where we're at. Because this is where it'll probably be the end of August before we really know where are we at.
Yep.
And we'll have lots of activity going on within the next 3 weeks, and then it'll slowly be less. And so we have a better idea. And come August, we'll have I'll let you know where we're at, where it looks like. But right now it's just trying to get all the bills in so we can get our revenue in from the state, from our other schools. So right now, today, and our meeting tonight is really on a cash basis. Anything that I could report as of June 30th is in the June numbers.
Yep.
So that's, with that being said, so
One question for you on that. So the July and August payroll expense gets put in the 18-19 school year, is that
Yes.
correct? So that's why that instruction number in the accruals, like 1.8 million, that's where that big number comes from then?
It's not in the accruals yet because that'll show.
No, but in that, your accrual comment on the
Yes,
budget, I
yes.
saw that, I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we're year to date, so why aren't
Yeah.
they? And then, so I looked at the budget, which I love
Yeah.
that, by the way, so.
So, yeah, because they are actually, they've earned it, but they just don't get it. They're out, their payments for 12 months, but they've earned it.
Okay,
So-
so that's the
Yeah,
rationale
it's
for
payroll,
having it
yeah.
accrued, okay.
With that being said, as you can see on this instruction line, the red 60,000, which is the big ticket item here, on this first line here, that's not very, let me pull that up and I'll move that over. That's going to segue right into the 6483 right here. That's instruction. The retirees, because of IPERS, they want to start drawing IPERs out, so they want to be paid for their July and August contracts in June.
Okay.
They want to be totally paid off, that way they can start earning IPERs. So we had about 5 or 6 retirees, whether they took the early retirement or they're just retired, they wanted all their contracts up front. So that's why it was a little bit more than anticipated, is because, you know, that's not something we can really, you know, allocate for or measure at that time. So you have no idea who's going to retire and how much. So, and then, so that's the big red of the 46,000. That's red 60,000, and you see, and that's with savings in there. So that is. So if you go back to, and I mentioned that, if you go back to the summary, the monthly expense, it shows right there. Otherwise, we're green. Things are going on track. So the building administration, let me go through here just to point out some highlights here. We talked about that. Our cash balances are extremely good compared to a year ago. Our published budget, we're extremely low compared to where we could be, but we have a big project. The total other expense is basically our bonds and our construction project, which, you know, we guesstimated really high because we had no idea at that point where our construction was going to be. And our PEPL, and this is on a cash basis too, so keep in mind we still have expenses coming through. We still have a remaining budget of $206,000. Once all these numbers get finalized, I will report and move them forward, because I know Tyler was asking about that last time. And we're still working on, we have negative balances in the activity fund, still collecting money, still expensing yet. The nutrition fund, you know, I know it's going to get better. It's going to be slow, but you know, our revenue was down to $23,000 compared to last year. Our expenses were up $70,000, and that I'm surprised actually that our difference in cash on hand is only $34,000 difference.
Did we buy any equipment?
No.
Pieces?
No. Not big, you know, not big things. That would take a lot of money. But so, you know, we have. I did put in here.
So is the 70,000 food cost? Is it employment cost? Have you analyzed it?
It's basically wages are up. Between wages and benefits.
That's a big chunk.
It's 37,000. So
half
that.
Yeah.
So, but
but food's up $12,000 too.
yeah. So this is a measurement. So well, we had lots of changes. The staffing was a total change. So let's analyze it another year and see, compare and see what to do. The negative meal account. Did I go into some detail on that? I think I did.
Yeah, I think last
on
time.
the second.
It was pretty close, the same as it was last year.
Do we need to talk?
Yeah,
$2,000 we need to talk about it.
Yeah. It's at the very last bullet of your report. The negative meal account balance was approximately $309 less than last year, and there was 14 families that negative balance was, and I broke it down in where it was. But so we had almost $3,000 of donations, which is
fantastic.
So nice.
Yeah.
And so we have a process that we go through, and anybody's free or reduced gets first, and we divide everything out equally. And we just start going through for free and reduced, and then we go through and we just start. And so after that $3,000 was deposited in the funds, we were left with $2,400 negative balance, and we have one family that's $1,100 of that. So, and you're not talking about, with our school district, we're not talking a lot of people. So
Right.
it was great that we have those donations. Yeah.
All right. Public forum. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Board members, are there things that you'd like to pull out or discuss?
Any questions on the bills?
Any questions on the personnel?
All of the positions have been filled, like.
We think we have some associates still left, isn't that right?
Yeah, we had one on and we had to take it off. And then we approved one nutrition person last month and then she resigned this month, so. But teaching, yes, we filled the newest ones, the teaching is done. Joy Sperry's position's been filled tonight. So then I believe what we have left is a half-time custodian, associates, which that's an ongoing thing, and I was thinking, and then food service. I think we have a couple food service. But talking to the associates are, that's always a challenge, I think. But food service, Deb feels very positive about filling those positions. So.
Excellent.
Move approval of consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I stand approved. Thank you all. Okay, so the next one is me. This is considering taking possible action on me to accept my resignation. I just want to thank you all. Obviously, we would talk about this a lot without a lot of specifics, but as you know, I'm moving out of the state of Iowa Thursday at 8 a.m. And so I'd submit my resignation effective this evening. I just want to thank you all for an amazing 4 years. I had no idea what I was getting into. As you know, I ran as a write-in candidate, deciding probably 6 days before the election that I'd like to do this. Actually, Lindsay was a huge encouragement to say, you are an idiot if you don't do it. Not quite his real words, but I mean, I'm summarizing. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a whole bunch around how to talk with people, how to manage differences, how to respectfully disagree about things, how to think not just about what I want, but I think about general progress being made towards a positive direction. I think it's been tremendous. We've done a lot of things the last 4 years. We've started huge building projects. We've got school bonding issues passed. We've kicked off a new superintendent evaluation process. We did a 3 to 5 year priority work, not only in the policy to create that, but also I think in doing tremendous work in getting there. Obviously, I'm a small part of all of this, but I really have enjoyed beyond anything I expected in doing all this. Kim, Lindsay, and I have spent countless hours talking about policy, and I actually have found that deeply satisfying to think about making changes here that last a long time. And so, yeah, thank you, Lindsay, for giving me this opportunity. For the public, hey, thanks for showing up tonight to welcome me out, say goodbye to me on the internet, of course, is what I'm talking about. And yes, my fellow board members, thank you all. It's been a real pleasure to serve with you. So this is the end for me. I have one question, Gail, for these. Am I going to sign these? Dang it. Okay, great. I was just kind of putting those off, hoping someone else could do this. Thank you. I'll do this before I leave the building. Yeah, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you,
Great.
Ryan. It's been great.
I've been in on a little less than half of that, but I certainly appreciate all that you've shared and taught me, just even as in this last year. So You'll be missed.
Thank you. And to that note, sorry, I wanted to say one thing, I guess, about being the board president. I was talking to John afterwards in the parking lot, I think, and being board president has been the biggest professional development I think I've encountered in the last 5 years, probably, just around managing people I deeply respect and at the same time don't always agree with, and how to do that well has been hard. I've made lots of mistakes in this process too, but it's awesome. I think for anybody kind of thinking about growing their communication skills or management skills, the president is a tremendous opportunity to test that out. Ugh. So anyway, thank you all. Not perfect.
No.
All right, do I stand up and leave now? Is that the right thing? Can I take these back to the table?
I think you have to wait to see if they even accept it.
Oh, well, I read here that the superintendent recommended.
Hey, where's that big hammer that you're going to give to Deb?
Oh, that's right.
Wham!
Yeah.
All right, you have to approve this, I suppose.
Yeah.
So moved with regret.
Oh,
Second.
with less regret. Okay, good. All in favor of me leaving? Thank you all. This has been amazing. And with that, I don't have to do this anymore.
We have a majority.
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna just take these back there and sign it off camera, privately. Thank you all. It's kind of surreal. It's weird.
Does it feel weird?
I got fired, I think. This is great.
Majority too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Unanimous.
Vice President, take over.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I didn't know I was doing this. So, do you have an
We
agenda?
rehearsed this, sorry.
I don't remember the rehearsal, but we have done some work on the board. We do understand that it's our obligation to fill the position or to fill the vacancy that Brian has left. And I think that we have done that research, and I think we're ready to make a recommendation.
So the vice president policy for our audience is when the president steps down, the vice president fills
Yes.
that role by policy. So
Yes.
just wanted to make that clear to our audience.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So, that said, I believe we were ready to appoint Andrew Rickliffs as the temporary board member to fill Brian's vacancy. So he would fill this position on the board. There's an election in November. If he were to continue and wish to continue, which I believe he stated his desire to run, he would, of course, that would be subject to an election. So,
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next
Extend
on
them
the
a
agenda
congratulations
is to
here.
swear in the appointed new board member. Is that right?
Take a
Yeah.
seat,
Uh-huh.
yep.
I
You have
can't,
10
I can't.
days to do
There you go. Come on over. You can sit
this.
next year.
Take your name.
Okay, I'll take my name tag. Thank you.
His name tag needs to go with Brian,
Okay.
or just the name tag.
Do we have the?
I have the oath of office, so Andrew.
Do I need to stand for this?
Yeah.
Rehearsal.
Aye, state your name.
Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and will you faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge all the duties or the office of board member in the Gilbert Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay.
I will.
Awesome.
Right. Now we have to do
Thank you. I'm excited for it.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
job.
Get ready.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so this is awkward because now election of the board president is next on the agenda.
Vice president, right?
No, board president.
The
We have to
election.
elect her.
Yeah. So that
So-
policy
I'm so
usually
confused.
states.
So I make a
Should it be vice
motion.
president first?
Well, I thought the president was stated by policy. so
Yes,
that's why I'm
the
confused.
president is stated by policy that when a board member leaves,
When the
there's a
president
vacancy,
leaves.
then the vice president moves into the presidency for the remainder of the term.
So there wouldn't be anything to vote on other than to
Vice.
make it official that,
Yes.
yeah, that's
To
what.
announce to the world. So I move that Deb Wardall step from vice president to president role.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Take
so
over.
There we go.
we have documentation then.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
Deb
only is
has
it policy,
officially
it is
moved.
the will of the board, the will of the people.
Yeah.
And so can we
That's
keep
nice.
checking along?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's
Okay,
me.
so I move, in absence of a vice president, that John be vice president.
I second.
All
Nice
those in
job.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I don't vote, sorry about that. Still used to that. Okay, so moved. So John Nelson will be
Congratulations.
vice president,
Thank
and these positions will be in place until the November election when we have a new board, and we'll go through this.
Now, are they until November, or are they
They're
until
until
the
November.
board meeting in, I was confused.
We have our annual meeting.
Mhm.
We'll have our annual meeting, which is the first Monday after the Tuesday election. So I think it's,
It's published, though, was in August, and something that I
I think
read
that
in
might
this
That would
board.
have
We
been
have-
the old.
we
the
have-
old one.
here.
Oh, it's right here, annual meeting, so that's.
we have an annual meeting and we have a reorganizational meeting.
Okay.
Annual meeting has to take place after August. So, and actually, I have a webinar. They're still trying to figure out if those two can be combined on the same night
Right.
or not. So the legal thing is that the annual meeting has to take place after August 30th. But, so I will let you guys know if it's going to be August or November, because I have a webinar this week. So we are going to talk about that, of if they can be combined or not. So,
Okay.
it's a whole learning process with this November election, so.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is to swear in the officers.
Yeah. Board President, Vice President, oath of office.
Do we do this at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, good job.
Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and will you faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge all the duties of the office of Board President and Vice President in Gilbert Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
I will.
Okay. We have 2 I wills. Great.
Okay. Done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, so the next on the agenda is just the calendar, so this is just an update. Our next meeting, regular board meeting, is August 12th at 6 p.m. Andrew, are you
Second
available
Monday's
for that?
Yep, perfect.
Just found out about that. And I believe the next, then the meeting after that will be September 9th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
not
just
sure if
a
it's gonna be an
regular board
annual.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's gonna be the annual. I will know
Yeah.
more after this week.
So we will clarify that.
And
as
I will not
Kim
be
said.
here August 12th.
Okay?
Okay.
And I actually won't be here September 9th, but I have Tia stepping in. She'll be training, so she'll be stepping in. I'll have a family wedding in Denver on Sunday evening, so.
Congratulations.
Nice, congratulations.
So not my personal family, but it's kind of,
Oh.
so I need to go. So my flight doesn't come in until 4:30 Monday afternoon, so.
Okay.
Oh, you
So
could
we'll
make-
put you as tentative. No, I'm joking. Okay. I don't think we have anything else, right? No other meetings to schedule?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion to adjourn. Yep. Is that right? Are we not supposed to say that?
No.
Second? Somebody
Second.
Nothing? Yeah. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.